A late last-second comeback attempt falls short, and the Knicks are now on the brink of extinction.
You are Locked On Knicks, your daily New York Knicks podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is the Locked On Knicks podcast. I'm Gavin, Schall, your Saturday co-host of the Locked On NBA podcast and a credentialed media member that's been covering the New York Knicks for nearly a decade. Equally somber to my right, he is left. I don't know which way he's facing. It's Alex Wolfe, editor-in-chief of the Strickland, the greatest Knicks website in the whole wide world. You can check them out on all forms of social media over at thestrict.land. On this painful Friday night episode, we're going to talk the Knicks late punch, trying to come back. Not enough, down 0-2 against Indiana Sunday, essentially an elimination game for them and this wild, crazy playoff run that they've had. We'll talk Tom Thibodeau's substitution patterns, whether any permanent changes will come going forward, and just a disastrous defensive stretch after an incredible defensive run in the first half at the start of the fourth quarter, really throughout most of the fourth quarter. But before we get into all that, I want to remind you that today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. And I want to remind you that we're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day, your daily podcast on the New York Knicks, giving you the most detailed insight on your favorite team at least 5 days a week. Recently, it's been a lot more. So be sure to join thousands of other Knicks fans and subscribing on both YouTube and your favorite podcast platform for the best insight on your favorite team. Alex, talk me through your thoughts on that fourth quarter. Tom Thibodeau does something we essentially haven't seen him do, maybe like a couple of, at most a handful of times all season, largely closes without Karl-Anthony Towns, has Deuce McBride on the floor for a large chunk of the fourth quarter. Adjustments you and I have been asking for. Unfortunately, they do not work out as Indiana controls most of the fourth quarter. The Knicks down by 10 with a little over 2 minutes left, have a 9-0 run to cut it to 1. Pacers make their free throws. Ultimately, wasn't enough.
Yeah, I mean, it was just as it has been in this series. It was just Tibbs. Through some other parts of this playoffs as well, but most stark in these first two games this series. It was just too little, too late adjustments from Tibbs. You know, I think that he waited entirely too long to get optimal lineups on the floor from the beginning of the game, where he let the Knicks get in a hole and then subs in an optimal lineup and then has to play Mitchell Robinson for like 17 straight minutes because he can't figure out how to stagger rotations properly. And then second half, kind of the same deal. I mean, it's like he hasn't trusted Cam Payne to play a single minute of a second half in a month, and decides in the most important game of the season to have him start the fourth quarter and end the third. You know, I'm not going to put it all on Cam Payne, but it was pretty obvious that like the team was not running as well with him out there. And you probably should have tried going with maybe the lineup that almost won you the game in game one. I don't know why he barely went to that look, which was, I believe it was Deuce Hart, OG Cat Mitch, right?
Yeah.
That was the lineup there. Didn't go with that. And you know, whatever, you could swap. I would probably swap McHale for OG because OG was pretty bad again in this game overall. I don't know what's gotten into him the last couple games, but not fantastic there. But yeah, it sucks, man. I mean, I said the same stuff, you know, when the Knicks went up 2-0 against the Celtics on the road. Like, it's a really hard hole to get out of. And we saw that with the Celtics versus the Knicks as well. Like, the Celtics, of course, came back and threw a punch back in game 3. And then the Knicks lose game 4 on the Celtics floor. And then, you know, win game 4 on the Celtics floor. And then lose, you know, back at lose back at home, whatever. It's just, you know, or lose back at the Celtics, and then, yeah, I don't know, whatever. My brain's fried, bro. I had a migraine all day, and this game didn't help it at all. It sucks. Their chances of winning are like 9% or less at this point of winning this series. So it makes it hurt an extra lot that they didn't take care of business the other day, got lazy, couldn't defend the 3-point line and protect a 14-point lead, and now you go into Indy, where they've been playing great at home, down 0-2. So sucks, man. Sucks. That's my first thought.
Yeah, headline for me similar. I mean, game one just feels this. You were. I don't want to speak for you, but I think I can speak for you. I think I can speak for all Knicks fans in that there was an incredible amount of tension watching this game. Not just because you're going to go down 2-0, and to your point, it just especially when you go down 2-0 with home court advantage, incredibly difficult to come back to win 4 out of 5 when 3 of those games are going to be on the road. It had that extra weight, right? Because you blew game one, and I think everyone wanted catharsis for that and needed to just be like, all right, maybe it's just not going to matter. And now it looks like that is probably going to be the series. And maybe if the Knicks end up getting swept, you could look back and then say, all right, they weren't going to win anyways. But game one hurts that much more. And to your point, like I thought Tibbs mostly coached a good game. I'm not going to put this on him. I thought, again, the organized offense was good. I mostly liked the substitution patterns in the first half and the second half. I think he just stuck with Mitch way too long, and it was pretty clear that Mitch was exhausted and not nearly as impactful both on the offensive glass and on defense, where in the first half he looked not like an all-defense guy. He looked like a defensive player of the year type guy with his ability to switch, with his ability to play drop, with his rebounding, obviously. Second half was not at all the same. That fourth quarter stretch was defined by the mistakes that I talked about with Tony in our preview pod that have plagued the Knicks all season, which is just understanding what scheme you're in pick and roll and just being on the same page and communicating defensively. And it was some combination of Mitch, of Cat, and of Mikal Bridges, who just inexplicably did not switch a couple of times when the scheme largely seemed to switch everything. Partially, I think, so everyone would be on the same page and you wouldn't have to overthink it. And yet they did overthink it. And the Pacers used that to, I'm scrolling through my notes, to stretch the lead out to 94-85. I think it was an 11-2 run in total. That's when Tibbs burned his second to last time out. And that was pretty, I don't want to say that was a game, because they still had time to come back, but the Knicks obviously outplayed Indiana from there. And despite like a lot of shots going in and out, had their chances down the stretch, but it was exactly as you put it, too little, too late. And the way I would summarize it is like, the Knicks, I think, soundly outplayed Indiana in the first half, and yet they were only up by 3 because they make all these little mistakes. And Indiana, like a championship team does, makes you pay for every single one of them. And Indiana had their share, but just not quite as many, not quite as painful as the Knicks, at least from my view. And it ultimately cost New York.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that the Knicks fell for a lot of the same things that plagued them in the first game as well. I think down the stretch, like, as the Knicks were trying to make their comeback and the shot making was happening once they got Brunson finally back in the game and everything, I think that they were not getting back in transition. So they were not combating what the Pacers do best, which is, just run the floor after a make and try to strike immediately back. They got burned a few times with that. And they also got burned by the strategy that Caitlin Cooper, who writes about the Pacers, wrote about and videoed a little bit about after the first game, which was what they did in overtime, which was what kept freeing up those cuts to the basket, which is just essentially like loading up above the break and forcing all the Knicks defenders up to the top of the court and away from the baseline, and then just waiting for one of them to fall asleep and driving in and getting essentially free buckets. I mean, the amount of times that poor Deuce had to be like the rim protector essentially because everybody else was out at the 3-point line. It was just unacceptable. I mean, it led to a lot of makes for the Pacers. I think that was a good deal of what Miles Turner was able to do in the fourth quarter was, leaking in off of those. And I mean, he had himself a game for as great as Siakam was. Like, I think Turner, as far as closing this game out, was probably the X factor. 13 points in the fourth quarter. Just found his spots, made the open 3 that he needed to make that essentially, again, was one of those just like backbreakers where the Knicks were trying to make a comeback and he just hits this corner 3 that he was left wide open for because the Knicks just didn't tag him because they couldn't, because Mitch had to collapse in because they targeted Brunson out of the pick and roll. Brunson got blown by Hallie, who then Mitch had to try to close in on and then just hits it to Turner. I mean, it's a matter of the Knicks just, offensively have been looking better in this series than they did. And that's great. But defensively, I feel like Carlisle is coaching circles around Tibbs.
Can I ask, did you feel that way in the first half? Because I thought when Mitch was on the floor, I thought the defense was awesome in the first half.
I did, but I mean, I think that they were getting beat by a lot of that same stuff before Mitch came in, which I guess begs the issue, of like, is Tibbs going to finally take the hint and maybe change who starts the game and work on these rotations a little bit? Like, I think that they just they forsook so many things that went well for them in the first game, particularly in the second half, like not going to the lineup that almost won them the game. Like, I don't think that we saw, unless I'm mistaken, like in the final 2 minutes or whatever, I don't think we saw a single instance of Deuce, Hart, OG, Cat, and Mitch this entire game. And that lineup damn near won you the first game.
It didn't play. No.
Yeah, and that lineup damn near won you the first game. Like, the fact that
you did have the same group to start the fourth, but it was with Cam as the bench backcourt and McHale for OG. And
which is not the same thing. I mean, that's like a huge difference. So I don't know. Yeah, it sucks. I'm gonna say that like a million times, but this game sucked. It was terrible. The second half was really depressing. I mean, you kind of just had this feeling that they weren't going to win because Carlisle just had a counterpunch for everything that Tibbs was able to do and had him basically on his heels the entire second half, in my opinion.
Yeah, I want to talk about the decision to not play Cat in the second half. Maybe just to torture people, we can go a little bit more into the defensive mishaps just because they were so befuddling. We can talk about that late run. We'll get into it all in just a sec here on Locked On Knicks.
But first, I wanted to let you all know about our friends over at FanDuel Sportsbook. And the NBA playoffs are in full swing. Every night delivers highlight-worthy performances, major momentum shifts, and can't-miss moments. Whether it's a game-winning shot or a breakout player, there's never been a better time to get in on the action. FanDuel makes it easy to stay in the game before tip-off and live. With player props, performance trends, and same-game parlays, fans have more ways than ever to play smart and win big. Maybe go ahead and place a bet on the Knicks to win this series. I mean, you can get better money on it now than you could at the beginning of the series. So that's a plus, I guess. Hey, put your money where your mouth is. I want to believe too. Maybe I'll do the same thing. Just put a little scratch on it. Make it that much sweeter if they do pull this off. But we'll see. Anyway, if you're new to FanDuel, it's the perfect time to sign up. Head to FanDuel.com and place your first $5 bet. And if it wins, you'll get $200 in bonus bets. So maybe don't use that $5 bet on the Knicks winning this series. Pick a little more of a sure thing. Find a real lopsided baseball game or something. Anyway, make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. All right, we're back in talking Knicks, down 2-0 to the Indiana Pacers in the Eastern Conference Finals. Heading to Indy on Sunday, sporting an 0-2 record going into that game. Gavin, I'll throw it to you because I don't know what to lead on. Start this segment, man. I'm a little out of it tonight, man. Yeah. This one took me out.
Yeah, that's fair. What we could both talk through. What do you think about the Cat decision not going back to him? Because I don't know if it was wrong. He ultimately plays just 28 minutes in this game. He was minus 20 over those 28 minutes, and yet he also scored 20 points on 14 shots and 7 rebounds. And it did feel like his offense was desperately Mitch. That's a good pun. I'll pretend I did that intentionally. And like the defense, again, like I don't think you were getting the benefits of having Mitch on the floor that you thought you'd be getting because he was exhausted. And unlike the first half, which hopefully we have time, we can talk through the Mitch first half because it was about as good of a first half as any Knick has played all season, and as important of a moment as the Knicks have ever had this season. Like Mitch owned this game, every offensive rebound, crazy putbacks, lob dunks. Like again, the defense was picture perfect. And if you're getting that version of Mitch, like no question about it, Tibbs makes the right decision. But it is tough to stomach that you don't have a player that talented that Indiana just clearly has no answer for it. Even on a night where he was that much of a negative, like we saw in that 9-0 stretch he ripped off in the second quarter, just how valuable he can be. And the fourth quarter offense was just like a very mixed bag. And there were a couple plays late where like you kind of had to look to Mitch because like one, like Indiana intentionally fouled him the one time. There was the one where Brunson hit OG in the corner, then OG zipped it to Mitch, and Andrew Nembhard makes a great play to foul him before he could dunk it. He goes 2 for 4 on those free throws. And I go back and look at these games, and I'm saying, all right, all these different moments where the Knicks missed 1 point, because it was essentially 1 point game, right? It was 110 or 109 after that 9-0 Knicks run. Brunson makes a mistake and grabs Neesmith's jersey when it seemed like Indiana was throwing it out of bounds anyways. I say that to say, like, there were multiple opportunities where Mitch cost you a point, right? Both missed free throws, and then also had the play where Brunson hit him on the short roll, and he tries to stroll in for a dunk, and he basically like loses control of the basketball going up. Mitch also did some good things, right? He shut down Hallie like twice in isolation, like blocked the crap out of him on one play, though Indiana ends up getting a corner 3 on that play where Miles Turner literally just hooks his arm around Jalen Brunson so he can't get around the screen. Watch that one back if you want to throw up and torture yourself. Alex, I'm going out of left field here, but the question is, how do you feel about no Cat to end this one?
I mean, in the moment, I was kind of like, I feel like he was in the first half. The reason I think that the starters haven't been working is that Indy's been really good at targeting Brunson and Cat in a way that other teams haven't been successful at. Whether that's like they've been getting Brunson, like in this game, they were clearly hunting the one-on-one Brunson matchup off the switch, which the Knicks were more aggressively doing at the start of this game. Instead of going back to drop again, they, decided to come out switching immediately. Brunson kind of held his own against a few guys. Like, I think he had a couple good possessions against Nembhard. He was doing all right, but they started really taking advantage of that in like the third and fourth quarter. I think the Cat was largely not looking good on defense, but there reached a certain point in that fourth quarter where it felt like the end of game 1 again, where it was just like a gunfight, and it was just like a pure shootout. Like, nobody was defending anything on either side. So it's like, if you have Mitch out there and you're not getting stops anyway, to be clear, I don't really think by any fault of Mitch for the most part. I think that they just schemed really well. Again, they did that like I don't even know how to describe it, like 5 out, like but like 5 out, 5 up, like, I guess if you want to call it that, whatever.
Sure,
like
and multiple screens like that, which the Knicks were actually nailing in the first half, and like I give Tibbs like a lot of credit because clearly like they had figured that out. And then some of the ghost screens, some of the double screens, like it was like Mitch and Cat were both just like out of gas, and they couldn't keep up with it, and that's where they got burned.
And I think that was mostly where Cat was, in the first half getting burned too, was all those screens. And like they've kind of discovered the formula is like the best way to have Cat defend is to just have him with a singular focus. Like, I think Cat with a man in front of him, no matter who it is, I think even if it's Halliburton, even if it's Jason Tatum, even if it's whatever, pick your superstar. Like, I think he can hold his own fairly well. And like, we've seen that a number of times where if just given a one-on-one assignment off a switch or whatever, it's more difficult than you might think to punish Cat off of a switch. But if you can get Cat in a situation where he has to be reading multiple layers to an offense and reading his way through multiple screens and whatever, like, that's not his strong suit. And he's going to get caught ball watching, and he's going to be late getting in to try to contest. And that was what was happening. That said, again, I maybe would have brought him in a little bit earlier than Tibbs ultimately did, because it's like, what were you getting out of the lineup that was out there anyway? And the answer was not much. So, to bring Cat in, I forget what the exact minute marker was.
It was like around 3 minutes left.
Yeah, like 3 minutes left in the fourth. Like, I probably would have brought him in 2 minutes sooner than that. But you also, I mean, Tibbs was not great with his timeout management again for the second game this postseason. Really not great with his timeout management, and it really kind of hamstrung how many adjustments he could potentially make down the stretch in this game. So, I guess just kind of tough to find the window to get Cat in at that point. But yeah, I probably would have gone back to him sooner, I guess.
Yeah.
Answer.
Yeah, I hear you. We can hit on that 9-0 run. I mean, you said it too little too late. Just a couple. I mean, the Knicks run out of time in part because they give up back-to-back offensive rebounds that for like the first time all game, Indiana does not burn them on. I'm sure I missed one in there, but I had like Indiana did not get a lot of offensive rebounds, but it seemed like they scored every single time. early in the game on them. And then the last two, they don't, but it just burns an extra 14 seconds of clock. And the Knicks, unlike the Pacers, just don't have quite enough magic to overcome that, because Indiana makes their free throws and the Knicks don't. And Brunson like misses 2 Hail Mary threes that probably wouldn't have mattered anyways. But before that, like kind of I hesitate to say a mixed night for Brunson, because I mean, 36, 11 and 3 on 13 to 27 shooting, 5 and 12 from 3, perfect from the line, only had 3 turnovers, was +4 in a game the Knicks lose by 5. Like you can't put it on him. I didn't think every decision was perfect. I thought he missed some passes, but man, you definitely there's no way you can put this on Jalen Brunson. And he was pretty heroic, like down the stretch of the third, like the second Mitch comes in. You see Mitch's roll gravity, like he rolls to the rim. Brunson hits the step back 3 when both defenders go with Mitch to make it 70-all. I think it was literally the next possession. He holds it for 18 seconds, just bullies TJ McConnell for a fadeaway. The Knicks actually finally start matchup hunting for him. To your point, in game 1, Brunson guarded 20 more ball screen actions than Halliburton did, stat from Zach Lowe. And I think this game is probably a little more even. I think they should lean even more into that, particularly with Mikal, because they got just like a lot of good stuff out of it. This time they ran multiple screens to get Obi on him. Beats Obi for a runner. Play the game offensively was like the end of the third quarter. Like he just been cooking Nembhard on his classic like reverse pivot fade, and Nembhard just bites hard on it, and Brunson anticipates it, steps through, gets the layup to go. So that was the third. Hits a 3, 7 minutes left in the fourth that cut it to 97-92. And then they run that hunting action on Hallie, but they play off it. They have Brunson ghost screen for Mikal Bridges. Mikal races in, cuts it to 3. Then the Pacers make their big run where the Knicks overhelp, I think, was the theme. And I'll go back to what we said, the whole Celtics series, like give up a 2 sometimes. Like that is better than giving up a wide open 3, because Indiana has had a historically good shooting playoffs. And you said on that preview with Prez, like they're due to get cold. I was kind of thinking the same thing. Clearly, the basketball gods have not deemed that something that's going to happen, because they keep making everything. And the Knicks, again, in a game where they, quote unquote, like kind of lost by 1, like you give up some 2s instead of 3s, maybe it's a different game down the stretch. Anyways, they're down 109 or 110 to 100. Sorry. OG gets 2 free throws. You got to stop. Brunson like hits just like a heroic pull-up 3. Doesn't take any time off the clock. That was 110-105. And then Nesmith fouls him like 3 times. Refs, for whatever reason, decide not to call it. Brunson bullies him anyways, puts a shoulder into him. Should have been an and 1. That made it 110-107. Then they try to hunt again. Like the hunting was hit or miss just because Brunson is so methodical, but 2 stay on the ball, slips it to Hart. He gets a layup, 110-109. And then the one mistake Brunson makes, holding the jersey. Maybe he was trying to foul. You can't plan for a bad pass. It's not really on him. So great Brunson game. Again, not enough, because Indiana, unlike the Knicks, just like self-destructs a little bit, but not all the way. Anywho, we'll wrap this one up, touching on a few more of the players, complaining about how sad we are a little bit more on this edition of the Locked On Knicks podcast. All right, we're back on Locked On Knicks, a 114-109 victory for the Indiana Pacers. The Knicks are on the brink Sunday, backs against the wall. If there is any resilience left in them, we'll see if they have it. Alex, I thought, I tell me if you want to take this a different direction, but I thought like a brilliant defensive first half led by Mitch. Cat had that one run of shot making, just felt like the offense, like Brunson at times, pretty much everyone other than Cat at times was just not shooting the way they did in game 1. And maybe there were some execution issues too, but it felt like they should have had a 10-point lead at halftime and they didn't. And you just got that sinking feeling it's going to come back to bite them. And obviously it did. Yeah.
I mean, first half, they end up shooting just 5 of 15 from 3. And I didn't think that they were getting bad looks or anything. I thought they just weren't going in. I mean, unfortunately, it's been a theme that like lately, at least, Mikal and OG are kind of back to the point that they were at in like, I don't know, January or whatever, where like the threes just, they're decent enough threes being generated for them and they just don't seem to be going in. Mikal over the course of the whole game, 1 for 3, OG 2 for 6, a Deuce 1 for 4.
Yeah.
Also, I mean, even the 2 the campaign took, I thought they were like decent looks. It just, they didn't go in. That hurts. That sucks. And it's especially, I mean, both teams were generating I thought the Knicks definitely did a better job of like containing what the Pacers were trying to do in the first half, but then in the second half, again, as you alluded to, like no cooling for this Pacers team. They're just going to continue making like 45% of their threes for the rest of the time, apparently.
Yeah.
Because they go 43.3% in this game. And I didn't think that some of those were left wide open. The Turner one, the
Hallie got one in the corner. Yeah.
Yeah, Hallie had one from the corner that was like really wide open. Like there was a couple of them, but largely I thought they did a fairly decent job of sticking to their man, or at least taking the right chances if someone was going to end up with a 3 on a possession. Like I know that Turner had like a pretty damn good year shooting from 3 this year compared to his career, but like you feel all right maybe about leaving him open for that corner one, and it swished in.
Mhm.
That sucks, and that's just whatever, like shooting luck or whatever. But yeah, I don't think enough could be said about the impact that Mitch had in the first half and that Mitch has had in these playoffs in general. Like no matter how these playoffs end up ending, if the Knicks get swept in the series, if the Knicks take it to 5, take it to 6, take it to 7, somehow win the series, whatever, like there's no denying Mitch was maybe or is maybe the most valuable player that they've had in these playoffs so far. I mean, just the impact that he has when he hits the floor is insane. I mean, the way that he got after the offensive glass, like immediately for the Knicks in this one, how smart he is when he does secure those offensive rebounds. It like totally it just impresses the hell out of me watching
Yeah.
him, the way that he's able to stay composed after those when he's getting a rebound amongst 4 people sometimes. I mean, they're sending the entire team and like 3 guys off the bench to try to box him out, and he's still getting these rebounds. And then the composure that he has to not do what maybe we saw earlier in his career where he would try to get the putback, or he would try to put it on the floor real quick and then bring it up, which is like the cardinal sin of uh Clyde
Big
always talks
manly.
about cardinal sin of passing, but that's to me, yeah, that's what I was taught is like a normal sized large guy playing basketball
Yeah.
is like keep the ball up here, never bring it down here. And I feel like we used to always see Mitch try to do like the one dribble and then go up for the layup or whatever and get denied earlier in his career. And to see how far he's come now with how smart he is with decision making off those offensive rebounds, of whether he goes back up with it or whether he immediately has eyes up, eyes looking to the corners, trying to find someone, and then like almost like a quarterback, a second read very quickly to see if there's nobody in the corner, if there's someone at the, for the elbow 3. Like he's just so good at that. So that was immediately impressive. And then obviously what he did on defense too can't be understated. Just, when they were going switch heavy in the first half and when Indy hadn't really figured out how to take them out of that yet, switching on to whoever they needed him to switch on to, including Halliburton, and holding him to a pretty terrible first half. I think a lot of that had to do with the fact that they were hunting a Mitch matchup and Mitch was saying, go ahead,
Yeah.
and just completely denying anything that they were trying to do. On top of even the defensive boards, I thought were almost as equally impressive as the offensive. Just everything to do with Mitch and rebounding in this game was impressive, especially in the first half. Second half, obviously, I think things hit the wall a little bit. Like 1, he looked maybe like he was running out of gas a bit, but then 2, twists his ankle on an amazing block on
Mhm.
Halliburton.
Yeah.
And things did seem to be the same for him after that. Go figure. I mean, the guy's had ankle issues well documented the last couple of years. So, um, and it's tough being that size of a dude and getting a twisted ankle or whatever, and then having to keep playing on it. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, just a phenomenal game for him. I think he deserves, all the flowers out of this game. And again, crazy to say in a game where like Brunson had 36 and 11 and Mitch had, you know, 6 points and 9 boards and 3 blocks. But like, I thought Mitch was once again, as he has been many times, like the most impactful player on the floor in this game.
Yeah, first half. I mean, I think just to not be negative, I'll talk about it a little bit more. To just highlight the difference between him and Cap is I don't think we said the number. Cat checks out with 5:19 to go in the first quarter. They're down 19-9. They immediately rip off a 17-5 run with Mitch, and it was like basically all Mitch. Like I know I've said this a bunch all playoffs, but Mikal Bridges looks like goes from being the worst drop defender in basketball, quote unquote, with Cat to being a very good one with Mitch all of a sudden makes all the difference for him. And like Mitch over and over again, just we talked about it literally 5 years ago when they were playing the Hawks and why it sucked that he missed that series and would have made such a big difference against Trae Young. Like his ability to drop and cover two guys is just rare. There's, I don't know, 12, 15 guys on planet Earth who can do it and have the tertiary skills to be NBA big men. And he's one of them. That's amazing. The tip in on the Brunson miss where he went through Mathurin and Obi was just like him being a man. That was insane. He had a defensive position where he guarded Pascal, who cooked the Knicks. We didn't even mention that he had 39 points. That he's a Knicks killer. It sucks. Anyways, he shuts down Pascal, switches onto Mathurin, strips him. Just game changing moments. You mentioned the second half, like that one rebound led to the Brunson three that made it 97-92. She's incredible first half. There's probably should be a 25-minute cap, and I was wondering if he could play more, and it turns out the answer is no. Real quick, just to wrap up, the wings. I thought deceptive box score night for Mikal and for OG. I'm not sure I get Mikal playing 45 minutes in this one, even though, again, the numbers are good. 20.7 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 steals, 9 of 18. Again, he got a lot of great looks that he just was not hitting in the first half, like missing short fadeaways, 2-man game with Brunson, got him a shot inside the foul line that against the Celtics he shot like 80% on. He missed that. Did make some crazy shots down the stretch, like huge three late third quarter to make it 77-74. Hit a turnaround baseline fadeaway to make it 86-85. The crazy shot of the night maybe was him like gnashing, and he only shot it, I think, because he saw Mitch was there, but it was early shot clock, and it was just a wild fadeaway to make it to 197, like 5 minutes into the fourth quarter. And I give Mikal some credit because he's had bad nights where he stopped shooting. I'm always like, I'd rather he just take 18 shots and live with it. And he made enough down the stretch, but I did not think it was a great game for him. And again, I thought he was the guilty party in a lot of the mishaps early in the fourth quarter, even though Tibbs seemed to take it out just on Cat. OG, very similar. I thought deceptively poor game for him, like bad defense in the early going. I mean, him and Cat both foul Siakam on late shot clock threes, and Siakam, I believe, like made all 6 free throws or maybe went 5 for 6. Again, in a game that was a 1-point game, that possibly makes a difference. Did get a steal for a dunk, did have a great screen and roll with Brunson on a ghost screen for a dunk. Second half hit the 1-3, but again, like butter hands at different times and like bobbles the ball on multiple occasions where he had like maybe not a clean rebound, but you hope your $240 million guy can like make a play at some point. And not that it should be based on how much money he makes, but you just are not feeling. Let's put it like this: between him and Cat, you're not feeling $400 million plus worth of impact. I'll say that. Josh Hart, great hustle in the second quarter. I would have closed with Deuce over him, and Deuce was not even having a particularly good game. Just good things happen when Deuce is on the floor. 25 minutes, he's +6. Hart, 29 minutes, -10. Credit that to Mitch if you want. Seems like every time Deuce is in a game, good things happen for the Knicks, and that is maybe my one critique of Tibbs, because I thought Hart, I know he had that late cut. I thought he was pretty much useless. One nice defensive possession on Siakam. I did not see the reason to have him on the floor.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm going to make the executive decision just to end the episode now because I have nothing left to say, and I feel like there's nothing left to say. So thanks everyone for listening. See you Sunday. Hopefully a better outcome, and hopefully the Knicks can get back in this series. And you never know. They have.
If you want to really torture yourself, we'll have an episode with Tony East midday if you're a sicko. But
sick. Yeah, cool. So listen to that if you want to. I mean, ultimately, you want to find the silver lining. The Knicks have been road warriors during these playoffs. They've, I believe, only lost one game on the road so far in the playoffs. So take that as your solace if that helps you. That's certainly what I'm going to use, and hopefully we get a better result on Sunday night. So we'll see what happens. But until then, thank you all for listening, and we'll talk to you soon. Peace out, everybody.